Oh, good.
Hi, it's Tracy Cousineau here with Unsilence Your Brand podcast. And today I have a special guest, Doan, and I am going to let Long introduce himself. He has been in the industry for quite some time, and I am excited to have him here with us today on how he's unsilenced his brand to become the top influencer in his marketplace in the real estate industry. So, welcome, and I'm giving you the floor.
Thanks, Tracy, for having me. I'm excited to hang out with you and share and learn. Like Tracy, like you said, I'm from Minnesota and 2019 in the business. I started Realty Group, this company now, in 2009 when I was an active broker at the time. And then 2014 when I started to grow the brokerage. So when I was an active broker, I closed 1,000 transactions in my first 4 years. Whatever market you're in, I'm sure you know that's not an easy feat. I was, I think, number 4 in the state of Minnesota, and people are like, who's this long guy? Where did he come from? And then 2014, when we started to grow the brokerage, we had 8 agents. Today was almost 660 when I last saw this morning. So one of the fastest growing real estate company in Minnesota and in the country. So I'm very happy to be here, and I look forward to spending time with you.
Yes, thank you. It's not easy to have 660 agents or transactions, regardless of what it is. It's difficult. And so I applaud you for that. Especially being in the business for that long. I'm 22 years in the residential real estate side of it. And before that, property management for 10 years. It's not an easy business. Some of us make it look easy, like yourself. And, when people get into the business, they're like, man, I thought this was so much easier. I was like, yeah, because some of us make it look really easy, but what we do behind the scenes. So welcome to real estate. But, being, in a top position as an industry leader, it does take a lot of grit. It takes a lot of grind. And I always say the loudest marketer wins. And with that, it opens up, when you really unsilence your brand so that people go to you as the best known person to educate them, especially on their largest investment. So what are the things that you can give tips for anyone listening on, if you sold in 4 years, 1,000 transactions when you first got in the business. So it sounds like it's been something that you've done for some time. You've always unsilenced your brand so people would know who you are versus hiding in a corner and thinking somebody's going to come and knock on your door, which we know that doesn't happen either. So Long, explain to us some of the things, the tips that consumers can, or people listening to the podcast can do in their business.
Yeah, so let's start with a business, you said, right? So we are in the people business. I don't care if you're in real estate and mortgage, sales, insurance. I mean, most industry we are in, your listener probably in the people business. Or in the people business, people work with people they like and trust, right? So once you know that, that's where you start. Because when people like you and trust you, then they're going to want to work with you. But to get there, you got to have a brand, right? So we always recommend our real estate professional that visibility is credibility. The more visible you are, the more credible you become, because when people keep seeing you, and the great thing nowadays with videos and technology and social media, back in the day you started, you and I dated ourselves, right? You've done 32 years, I'm 29 years, Back in the day, probably door knocking, cold calling was the way to go. How else are you going to reach people?
We didn't have internet.
That's right. Yeah, we just talked about right before we jump on, right? I remember back in the day, I don't know about you, but I remember the thermal paper used to fax to us. It comes out, and then you don't be careful. It's smeared and it goes away. You can't even read it, and it's like this long, right? It runs, And I remember back then, I'm on the phone waiting for people to call back because you don't want to leave the phone because how else are we going to get all of you? And when you need document, you're mailing snail mail, and it's like 3 to 5 days. Now, someone call or text you don't respond in 30 seconds. They think you're not professional. They send you something, you ask for something, it could be there in like seconds. So that's a scary part about the way technology has evolved. But because of video and social media, you can literally virtual door knock 1,000 people, if you wanted to. If you have the right target audience, you know how to target, retarget. So, but in the people business, so it's about people and about business. So that's the people part, right? Just be aware. One thing we do here a lot is besides real estate IQ training, which is how to do real estate. We do a lot of those training, but we do even more training on EQ, emotional intelligence. Because in the people business, if you don't understand and have high EQ and understand how to handle stress and manage yourself, so as you know, EQ, 4 different levels, self-aware. You got to be self-aware of, when you get mad or you get stressed out. Then and only then you can self-manage, which then lead to social awareness, all the people around you, all the relationships you have, which lead to relationship management, right? So the high-producing professional are really good at the EQ because they have great relationship management too. We work on the long game, not the short game, right? We know we build relationship because you're going to work with that agent or that loan officer down the road somewhere. So that's the people part. But the business part is systems run business, people run systems. So all you guys got to be aware that you are the CEO of your own company. You just may work at a place. For me, that's just where you partner up with to run your business. You may be a W-2 employee, you might be a 1099. Wherever you are at that brokerage or that mortgage company, or wherever you are, that's where you need to start learning to build process, system, and leverage that. Because system run business, people run system. For most of us, we are the people, right? We wear all the hats. And then as you learn and grow and scale, you start replacing yourself with other people. So that's probably the big two thing I would say is EQ, emotional intelligence, and then understand that system run business, people run system.
Well, exactly. And delegation is huge, and that's where you see a lot of growth when people understand that if they delegate even the smallest things, that allows them to open up and do what they do best. And most of the time that's being face to face. I have severe ADHD, so you don't put me behind a desk with paperwork because that's just not what I'm best at. My best is the brain ideas of the positivity of having ADHD. It's the marketing and that kind of stuff, being able to implement and go from one thing to the next, not the paperwork and the processes behind that, but I was able to systematically put them in gear so that the right people could process it in the right gear. So it's really huge. And just going through an assignment of, for a couple of days, the things that you do and highlighting the things that someone else can do versus you, and then put all that time back into something else is really huge to understand. But, going back to, regardless of your business, the internet and social media platforms are amazing. I mean, when I first got into, the real estate industry, they would bring you these big maps and of new listings, and there weren't pictures of houses. There were how many bedrooms, not even square footage. In the state of Georgia, we couldn't use square footage for a long time. It wasn't allowed. And so you're having to go and preview the house first. Then you bring the client there and then you had to make 7 copies of every contract because everybody needed the fresh, wet ink signature. So you're driving it to the next office, or you're, finding a courier was just new then, getting a courier to send it. It was a lot of time-consuming items involved in that, real estate transaction that now, I look at agents that are just getting the business or just been in there, since before the recession and after. And I was like, y'all have it made. Like, you don't understand. I've been through like 4 different types of lot boxes. I've been through about 10 different type of lot box keys. Like, you have no idea the technology that has just, gone. And then I'm like, by the way, do you know what a facsimile is? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I still have that facsimile, but now it just goes to my computer. And in the event that somebody old school, might need to send a fax, and every once in a while we do get faxes, so you still need to have that little fax number. But if technology can change and grow so quickly, so does our marketing and our branding. I was selling homes on MySpace when MySpace came out before Facebook, so had beautiful little glittery little houses and played like She's a Brick House and all sorts of fun stuff, to bring in. My top friends would be my clients because I wanted to sell them houses. So, again, it's just finding avenues to launch your brand and to show up in your community and online wherever you can and showing that brand. So what is your favorite branding? What do you have currently that you're doing that that you can help someone listening to the podcast on?
Yep. So before I go into that, you made so many great points. I wanted to deep dive a little bit on it, right? So as CEO of our company, when we first started out our business, like new agent, new whatever, the first biggest challenge we have to overcome first is consistent income, right? You want to get to the point where you make enough money, you don't need a second job to pay the bills. Like, hey, this is what I can do to make a living. And then, and only then, we need to go to be more efficient. So time management, right? So which is everything you share. When you've done all this, by the way, the faxing was funny. My youngest daughter, she just turned 18. We just had a conversation. She's like, what's a fax, Dad? I'm like, yeah, we had the same conversation you just had, but then the efficiency. So that's where you go through that exercise you share. That's what we do. We tell our partners, draw a line down the middle, and then you journal for 2 weeks. For me, I just look at my calendar, because if it's not on my calendar, it didn't happen, right? So I literally just look at my calendar.
Darren Hardy told me, so that's the way it goes.
That's right? So the left side is income producing activity. The right side is the production supporting activity. You will find out you only spend 20% of your time on income producing activity and 80% on the other stuff. This is where you need to build process system. Because if you flip that, like you said, if you know what you're good at, what you should be doing, you flip that. That's how we help our number one agent who came to us doing 130 transactions a year. She's like, I got no time. She did 275 last year. She actually worked less. So what happened is you look at the left side, you go, ooh, I need to do more of that. Instead of 4 times, right? You spend 80% over here, which means you spend 4 times of your time doing the stuff that should be done by somebody else who's probably better than you and probably cheaper. But that's where you build system and process. We call it the and then what exercise. What you said is the and then what exercise. If this happened, and then what, and then what? Oh, I got to take the curry over here. I take the picture. You map out the entire process system and you find out how you improve and make it the most efficient. That's the number one. Picture. Well, why do I come back to take the picture? Why don't I do when I was there, right? You improve the process so you can cut the time. Once you get it, you go, should I be the one taking the picture? I'd be better off getting someone else to do it so I can go out and quadruple my income producing activity, which means you'll quadruple your income. So in the beginning, you have more time than money, right? But once you start making some money, you got to start buying back your time by filling in with someone else's to scale for them to do all that stuff. So that's everything there was great that you talk about. But comes to marketing and branding. Again, visibility is credibility, videos and stuff like that. So one way to do that is social media. Of course, Facebook is one of the biggest one. Of course, now Instagram out there, TikTok, and a bunch of other things you can do, Twitter. But what we like about Facebook is just for business. You can target, retarget a lot easier than some other one, although YouTube and some other stuff is catching up. But one best thing you should be doing is instead of you telling the story, have someone else tell it for you. I think that's powerful, right? And that's testimonial. Your best client who has the best experience with you, let them tell that story on your behalf through video, through social media. So that's something that we do a lot here. The other thing too, we'll probably do it a lot as well is being consistently doing it. Unless you consistently do it, how many times you see someone post and then they're done, like you haven't seen them in a while, or they only post certain things. We're big on the acronym here. One thing we always say is in the people business, stay in front of people, right? Stay, S-T-A-Y. So let's use the social media side of, let's call it Facebook. So S is tell a story of what you do. Like you're selling yourself, S, okay? This is where you should say, I work with Tracy. I help her through this difficult transaction. She loves it here. Here she is. And she's like, hey, I love Long. He did this, he did that. You tell a story. T is teach somebody something. You want to establish you're the expert in your field, right? You want to teach them something. Hey, if you think about listing your home, content everywhere, by the way. You can Google that, right? If you want to list your home, here's the 3 things you should do, declutter your house, stage it around, take photo, whatever, right? A is advice. You want to be the source people go to for advice. Everything, including in the people business, by the way, Tracy, I'm sure you're the same. Hey, Long, Tracy, who should I call for insurance, right? It's not only about real estate. Who should I call for to get a mortgage? Everything you do. So can be all the way down to your kids asking you advice. So you want to show that you're well-rounded, you're knowledgeable, you try to help people. So again, someone might have asked you a question this morning. You give them an answer. There's your advice post that you have, right? And then Y is you. That's when you say something about you, because people want to know who you are. They want to like you, trust you. They want to know you are genuine and you are authentic. So that could easily be as me out with, I did that. I was out with my wife at a soccer game. Okay, she's never been to a soccer game. So I took a picture, a little video, and I posted on Facebook, and all this engagement coming because, oh, that's Long. There's his wife. So he's real, right? He's a person. The point is STAY allow you to spread yourself out and be consistently doing it. You can do all 4 in 1 week, or maybe you do 1 a week, whatever frequency is, set it up to do it. Because what I hate the most is I see a real estate agent, the only thing they post is their listing or someone do a closing.
Closing, yeah.
I'm like, come on, is that all? I mean, the people like eventually will tune you out, right? And that doesn't apply to me. I'm not closing. I'm not buying a home. But by you staying in front of them in that formula is one of the things that we recommend on how you brand it. Also find your brand. You can be whatever that is. You can be the soccer mom real estate agent, you can be whatever, because another thing that we talk a lot, Tracy, is we don't believe in a one size fits all in real estate. And we believe in the people business. We believe in this thing called the 7 different styles of success. It's based on your type of personalities. Some of us have all 7, but most are 2 to 4. So you want to focus on who you are so you can be genuine, right? So the number 1 style is called a hunter style. This is the cold calling, door knocking, okay? By the way, hunters will never go hungry. They want deals, they go hunt. But only 8.3% of the population are hunters nowadays. Over thousands of years, we evolved. We don't need to go hunt anymore. I don't have to tell my wife, honey, I'll see you in 3 days. I hope I bring home meat. I can go down to the grocery store and fire up the grill. I'm back in 10 minutes. But hunters, that's what they do. That's their style. So when you tell somebody, go cold call and door knock, yes, if they do it, they'll be very successful. What you're wrong is 9 out of 10 of them will never do it consistently because they hate it. It's not them. I prefer to cultivate a relationship with my friends, family, sphere of influence. It's called a farmer style, right? You nurture relationship. Then you have your expert style, the first-time home buyer, the luxury home, lake home, condo. Then you have your hyper-localist, Minneapolis, right? St. Paul. In that style, we teach them to be what we call the mayor of your town. When they think of real estate, they think of Tracy, right? And then you have your lifestyle one, people you hang around with, soccer mom, hockey mom, gym rat, bikers, musicians, just who you hang around with. Because why? They like you, they trust you, they're gonna want to work with you. And then you have your, we call your billboard and your bus benches, right? You get people on the billboard and the bus benches, that's their style. And then the last one is called the tribal style. It's your tribe, your peeps, veterans, women, African American, Asian American, just a bigger group that you think you kind of identify yourself with. So once you know what your style is, that's what you focus on. That way now you enjoy doing it. You feel like you're being yourself. If you try to be a hunter and you're not, it's not going to work for you. Mm-mm. And that's how you tailor your brand around you.
I love it. And so much of the same verbiage that came out of your mouth is exactly what I say a lot. I've kind of told myself, from the beginning on social media, and then now, coach on it, that for me, it's important to show very, different sides, but stay vanilla, because there's a lot of things that you shouldn't be posting that can ruin your brand. And so let's talk about how you can ruin your brand very easy. And it's, it's with negative engagement.
Yep.
It's, postings, negative stuff, or in the comments of somebody else's post, people are going to see that. And if that's how you're showing up there, that's how you show up every day. And sometimes you're showing up as showtime if you're trying to be somebody that you're not. And at the end of the day, people can see through that. And my story goes back. My book that is actually going to be published. It was supposed to come out last week. It'll be published this week, and it's called Unsilence Your Voice, which led to the podcast of Unsilence Your Brand, because you need your voice to be able to be unsilenced, to be able to unsilence anything, moving forward, such as your brand. And for me, there was a time during the recession that I was in a bad part of my life. I was very successful before that, and I wasn't prepared for the recession or a divorce or my mother passing away of cancer or finding out I was adopted. And, and so life just, kept going and going. Well, I was living this, well, I'm already down. Give me whatever else you have. And I was living such a negative part of a life that I couldn't stand. And it was time to make some changes. And with that said, and the reason why I'm telling this story is that I went back and did this exercise after I got back to really who I am and what my passion and what my purpose is here, and went back and looked at who that person was during that short amount of time. And I was just like, wow, that was a great case study on myself. I wouldn't have done business with myself, and it was really an exercise to learn to say, if you have something and your mind has pushed you into something in a negative, transpired into negative, and you think you need to post it, you know what, write it out. Just don't hit that post or that submit button and get it out of you, because it just takes a few minutes to vent and then you just move on. Don't have knee-jerk reactions to stuff, but really don't go through that tribe of that negativity, because people will see it. And again, they won't want to do business with you because of that. And you work so hard to be in the industry that you want to be in, and you can ruin it like that. Social media can ruin somebody in the blink of an eye, the snap of a finger. It's, like huge. People can spend millions and millions and millions of dollars in marketing over years and ruin it with one post. And so it's really being, careful with that. But so going back is there's three things that I like to personally put on social media, whether it's in my story or on one platform and not the next. But what it is, being consistent is huge. But every day is posting something of my personal life, whether it's somewhere I'm going or with my family or with my dogs or, my lifestyle. And so that, because people want it to build rapport and base, like if they see me out in my pool, oh my gosh, yeah, I love your pool, I'm thinking about getting a pool, or here's our pool, or, just stuff like that. And then also educating the consumer, educating the community, educating anyone on something that you have just read, a trending topic that is something of positive, and, just giving some education to something that might, help. And then, because you want to become the leader in educating your community and the thought leader. And then the next one is something to do with the industry that you're in specifically, whether it is a new listing, or I suggest, just like you, a testimonial coming from the actual person, so that it's real, it's authentic, and it comes from someone that experienced that client experience with you, who can only tell the story better than you can.
Yeah, you pretty much you combine the T and the A, right? The teach and the advice. But you touched on something also very important, right? So I'm originally from Vietnam. I'm not born here, but when I come here, obviously we're big on freedom of speech and all this other stuff and expression. What probably don't realize is it's freedom, but it's not free. There's a cost to it, right? You got to be very responsible to what you talk about. But if you're a business owner and you are separating yourself away from half of your potential clients or customers, what kind of business is that, right? So you got to be careful when you are expressing an opinion, to be careful what you say, so you're not infringing in someone else's belief as well. But they used to joke that, be careful and don't talk too much about politics and religion, right? Now, throw COVID in there. COVID is a hot topic right now. You literally almost got to be careful which side you're on. For us, I'm like, again, neutral. I want to make sure everybody feel comfortable with the shot, wear a mask if they want, but someone else don't. I'm like, all right, that's your choice, but you guys should be responsible to do it. But when I have a rule now, before I post anything from Facebook, Tracy, I actually, in my phone, have a note section. I write it, my post that I would post, and I don't post for at least an hour. It allowed me time to go, oh, I'm glad I didn't, right? Because how many times I've seen people, like you said, once it's out there, it's out there. It's late at night, had a few glasses of wine, had some someone really mad and expressed their opinion on Facebook. It's out there. It's pretty much, you kiss your profession goodbye. Yeah. Half the people, if not, it's going to say, oh, I don't want to work with you, right? But it all come down to, in real estate especially, besides, all this stuff, is also the mindset piece, okay? I share with people all the time. I have my map to success is what I call it, right? M is mindset. It's your motivation, like why you do the things you do, because mindset is so important because everything starts there. If you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can, you're right? So everything starts there. But a lot of us have great mindset. It's only a dream unless you actually do something about it, right? Which leads to A is action. Okay, unless you put it into action, it doesn't really matter unless you do it. And then for you to have the action, you use the word consistency, but I use the word prompt, right? Prompt is to stimulate that result in something happening. What that means is success is really consistently a set of habits being done all the time. Right? If you do all this stuff, you don't become successful because sometimes you get lucky, but for the most part, success is just boring. It's a thing you do over and over again to achieve success, right? Many people who are business owners like us know that. So what I mean by that is you don't want, there's a saying that you can't eat an elephant in one sitting, right? You can only eat it one bite at a time. So here's some example. As a business owner, you should definitely identify your KPI as a key performing index, right? These are the things that's important to your business. Once you know that, you start building prompts to get there. So for example, for most of us, reach is the top of the funnel. Used to be cold call, door knock, whatever, right? It's just prospecting. Reach. After you reach people, you want engagement back, which would be if you make a phone call or text, you hope someone respond back to you or talk to you, right? And once you get the engagement, you want to get the opportunity then for the appointment. You want to be able a chance to sit down and share with them how you can help them buy or sell a home, if that's real estate. And then once you do, you want them to choose you, right? And then, of course, when you do, then you want to hope that you did a good job. By the way, real estate is a strange industry. People don't realize this. We are constantly interviewing for a job. You go meet with a client to buy, sell a home, okay? So you're not good at interviewing skills. You need to get better at it, right? Building rapport, getting people to like and trust you. So, of course, you got to get a shot at the interview first, which is all this engagement and the thing we're talking about, the reach. And then you hope you get the job because they want to hire you. And then you do your best to work yourself out of a job in 45 to 60 days so you can start all over again. I mean, how stressful is that, right, for our industry? Which is why if you're not consistently have the habits in place to do all the things over and over and over again, you will not have a long track of success.
No, it's creating your mindset to be a system, to run as a system. And, what I love and what we've just talked about is about branding. And as you noticed, we didn't talk about a logo, and we didn't talk about the company name, and we didn't talk about the colors of the logo. It's the understanding that that's the reason for the podcast, is so that we all understand that unsilencing your brand has nothing to do with the company name, the logo, or the colors. And those are the first three things that people think about when they start to put a company together. So I hope that today you've learned that Long did not run by logo and colors and by name, but he ran by hustling, having systems in place, understanding what he can delegate and the people around him, and how to reach as many people as he can through his marketing and his branding. I appreciate you, Long, being with us today on Unsilence Your Brand. How can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so to wrap up what you just said, especially in the real estate industry, NAR has released studies after studies that only 2% of the end consumer actually care what company you work for. So everything you said, Tracy, is correct. You can Google me, Long Doan from Minnesota. You see my name spelled Longdoan. I'm very passionate about giving back and paying it forward. So anyone who reach out and needs some help, I'm more than happy to chat with them. So that's pretty much it. You can find me on Facebook. But really appreciate you having me, Tracy. This was awesome.
Good. Well, I look forward to speaking with you again. I will reach out to you and we'll communicate on other avenues as well. Again, thanks again for you joining us on Unsilence Your Brand. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.